Hey, I'm Dr. E, or Eric Sanders. I'm the head coach of the Sanctuary Church in Old Colorado City, Colorado. It's an incredible gathering of ragamuffins and misfits that started 10 years ago as just a handful of people in recovery looking for a recovery-focused church. And I don't know how it's happened, but 10 years later, I'm sitting in this chair talking about the amazing things that God has done. It has proven true to me, even that Bible verse, that even a grain of faith the size of a mustard seed can move a mountain. And we're watching people's faith and their volunteerism and the heart of God and His provision just move mountains in people's lives. So we decided to start this thing called the Sanctuary Church. That was back when churches were finding all kinds of hip and cool names, and what the Holy Spirit put on our heart was grab hold of tradition. What is a church? A church is a sanctuary. Genesis 28 tells us that. The first mention of the house of God is a place where heaven and earth meet. It's a place where God's presence can dwell, but it also implies a place of safety, a place where people can come and not have to be judged or criticized or critiqued. And so we decided just to call this simple thing the Sanctuary Church. 4 months into this church start, we had about 40 people. And because it was a recovery-focused church, my recovery leader comes up to me and goes, "We haven't had one recovery meeting yet. Maybe we should think about that." And it was just all happening so fast. We didn't really know how to do what we were doing. At this point, we've grown to the point that we have a food pantry that distributes 10,000 pounds of food a month. We have a donation-based counseling center that's running at capacity. We have recovery programs that meet almost 7 days a week. There are just things after things after things that are happening here. And I can't even explain it, except God knew what He was doing at the very beginning. I get asked a lot this question, like, you have so many sinners in your church. Do you just condone sin? And I'm like, no, man, I'm a firm believer in Romans chapter 5, where sin abounds, grace abounds much more. God has grown something big enough here that lots of people can come and get fed and grow and have hope and healing and freedom again in their life. So we start off with a little bit of a recovery group. One of the first people we encountered was a lady by the name of Yolanda. She comes in as an opiate addict and out of domestic violence. Her life was on the edge of absolute destruction. She finds Christ, she finds recovery, and fast forward 10 years later, this woman is one of the most influential people, not just in our church, but in this community when it comes to the margins.
I found Eric after I left an abusive marriage. I started with him at the Sanctuary Church when he started the church, and God kind of had me start feeding the community, our congregation, and we were outside having breakfast one Sunday morning, and I prayed this little simple prayer: Lord, let them smell the coffee and let them come. And 2 weeks later, we had the homeless knocking on our back door. And that's how Ragamuffin kind of started. Just started feeding them as they came out from the bars or a rough night. They were still intoxicated, but we just fed them. I call it a recovery cafe, and what we do there is we prepare breakfast for every Sunday morning for our homeless and addict families. When I started this, God said, don't make pizza or peanut butter and jelly because I want you to cook for them. And so we cook a full meal. And we have about 25 volunteers that come and help. We have a clothing closet. We have just a lot of fellowship there. We're a family. So we feed them. We start about 7:30 in the morning, and we go to about 11:30, 12 o'clock. And we feed anywhere up to about 250. And a good day would be 312. So it's just, a part just to accept them for who they are. We do prayer for them. We take prayer requests, ministry. We just kind of be who we are. God really used the Ragamuffin, the cafe, to really work in my recovery, leaving in an abusive marriage and an addict to fentanyl and oxy. I kind of lost who I was as a person, as a woman. So as I served for God, God showed me how to love as He loves and how to accept people as He did.
So being a church for the margins means literally working with those who normally don't fit in normal church structures or religious programs. Recovery has been one of those great examples around the Sanctuary Church that we didn't know from the beginning how influential and how big and how great the needs were, and how big and how great God's ability was to meet those needs. So we started off just looking for a room to rent for an addict. Next thing you know, we have this thriving recovery program. People who are coming in who have realized that they need both their spiritual program and their faith program to work together. And that's how you decrease recidivism. That's been recognized now around the country, around the city, as a successful part of recovery programs. So we offer that, both faith-based and non-faith-based recovery. Our own program, Recovery, has been developing over the years. It's really about authenticity. It's really about people realizing that God is the only way to truly be set free. And it has to be driven by people who are passionate about the margins. And our recovery leaders do that. Bobby Galindo is an example of that. A guy coming out of prison, meets Christ here at the Sanctuary Church, gets set free of his own addictions, and where sin abounded, grace abounded so much more in Bobby's life.
They got a saying over there at the Sanctuary Church that says, "Believe in my belief until you have one of your own." I didn't really know what that meant until later on. They seen something in me that I had lost all sight of. Like I just thought that my life was meant to be gang-related, heroin addict, methamphetamine user, abusive husband, crazy dad, and they really took that opportunity to speak into my life and just really walk me through some things. I started to work with individuals that were locked up in El Paso County. We started to put together successful parole plans or probation plans for these guys, and I kind of found my calling or my purpose. I never really had a relationship with Jesus, and I thought that everything was about religion and just going there, being in a tie and doing things the way everybody did. But I soon found out that was all a lie. That my Jesus was able to forgive things that we thought that we would never be able to see our way out of. Like it was transforming for me.
I met Bobby when he first came to the sanctuary when he just got out of prison, and he was just pretty amazing then. Getting to know them little by them coming into the cafe, I just got to see his heart. But in December, 2.5 years ago, Bobby had been starting Recovery. It was his passion, and he came up to me one Sunday at the church. "Hey, Yoli, I want to ask you a question." I said, "Okay, what's up, Bobby?" He goes, "I want to know if you want to be a part of Recovery." And I said, "Of course I will." I said, let me pray about it. A couple of weeks later, I just prayed about it, and God just said, "Yeah, you need to be there." So I've been working with Bobby 2.5 years now, and I do all the admin work. I do support letters for guys coming up for parole. It's been a lot of healing, and just love what he's doing. And as a team, it's amazing the impact that we're making in such a short little time.
Rep Your Recovery came from representing our recovery. For the time that I was here in the beginning, I would go to these recovery classes, and it was always like a lot of sadness, a lot of brokenness there, like in many recovery programs. But after so many visits to these places, I just started to feel like I don't want to identify like that no more. I want to be able to express my excitement for this new life. I wanted to be able to, I felt like I was like Lazarus. I was like, "You're not gonna raise me from the dead and then wrap me back up in mummy wraps. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna shout this."
We have this amazing cross at the front of our sanctuary with what we call treasure chest next to it. People started leaving their burdens there, usually written on paper. So we've seen these burdens left at the cross, and we just try to meet them as the body of Christ. Burdens like housing insecurity, food insecurity, drug and alcohol abuse, and mental health issues. We've done those one at a time. You can't do everything at once, but God continues to provide and motivate us to do that. That has led us to really these 4 streams converging on our next monumental mountain that we believe our mustard seed of faith is going to meet. And that's this thing called the Redemption Project.
So we had a vision, it started off, going into ComCore and talking to prisons, and then our heart grew that we saw the need for sober living, for people, for men and women to come into. So that was our vision, and we planned that it would be just a house, even a small house.
We cared about the people that God was bringing to us. Bobby especially was becoming more and more frustrated as we filled up more and more residential houses in town that were safe and sober living, that we wanted to have our own program, that our faith-based program could be active in a residential program as well. The need was, how do we find a house that we can get people who were coming out of ComCore, Department of Justice, that wanted to be a part of our church and our recovery programs, how could we find them a safe and sober living space? But as it always is, God's vision's bigger than ours. And it didn't take very long to realize that a house wasn't going to do it. And so God provided a motel. Now, how does he do that? We're a poor church. We don't have those kind of resources. So as everything else that's been the promise from the beginning, God said, just let your belief in me influence your circumstances. And within just a short amount of time, God brought an incredible developer on our midst who's in himself in recovery, and he has a heart for people in recovery. He was going to front the money for the house. And then he said, hey, by the way, I own a motel. Why don't we just look at using a motel? We could go from housing 8 men in a safe and sober living situation to 30. And immediately then, God brings other organizations, other churches around that said, we'll partner with that dream because we believe in this city also.
Redemption Project is the nonprofit that allows folks to donate, to sponsor. It's the housing for Rep Your Recovery. The thing that we love the most is about Rep Your Recovery because we can actually teach. We do men's Bible study here, cognitive behavior therapy coaching, recovery coaching, 12 steps. So we love the opportunity to walk beside men that come out of prison or the mission and they want a place of their own.
If we are able to catch an individual coming out of the prison and catch them at the gate, there's probably going to be more success in that plan right there because they haven't had a chance to hit the streets and really find that hopelessness again. If we catch them at that gate and we walk them through it, we're able to help them with the clothes, we're able to help them with the job, we're able to house them, we're able to get them from point A to point B, get all their documents in order.
We are a faith-based, it's Jesus Christ all around here, so they need to develop their walk with the Lord as well. We pick them up for church, we do family meals here, it's community, and that's one thing that God has shown me is to feed people, to give them that sense of hope when there's no more hope. And just to love them for who they are.
And so we have just opened and housed our first 10 guys at this point, and we're very close to moving in our 30 within just a couple months. But that's a renovation project. That's a redemption project. An old, skanky, well-known motel on South Nevada in this town that God has chosen to redeem. He's chosen to bring it back to the life that he intended for it. He's chosen to have it add to this community and not take away from it. God is all about life-giving choices and not life-stealing ones. And our job as the church is just to partner in what he's doing.
I'm strict, I can be mean, bossy and sassy, but I do it with love, and I think that's what the attraction is between me and brokenness, because I was once broken and I lost who I was completely. And for God to build me up to be the person I am today, it's all through him, but I would never change who I am today for anything less. It's just serving him.
So Redemption Project is these streams coming together, these leaders coming together, this idea and belief that God can do bigger things than we even imagine. Because God is all about redemption. We realized from the very beginning of this church, he was redeeming an old church that had aged out, but wanted to bring it back to life. He does that all the time. God's story has always been, throughout history, about moving people, families, tribes, and cities from a place of bondage to freedom to a promise. We just want to be a part of that process, and the Redemption Project is the next piece of that puzzle.
I was in sober living in Hazelbrook, and the opportunity came up to where he was like, hey, him and Yolanda asked me if I wanted to, what I consider the position of house manager. And I was like, sure, but I told him, I said, I really don't know the RA, the NA, the AA. I know Jesus. That's what changed me, was Christ.
From start to finish, I know that the story has not ended, nor has it even come close to where the Lord is going to take us. But he is a prime example of where an individual has come out broken, unsure, not knowing, doubtful, fearful, anxiety, and just put his trust in the Redemption Project, the Sanctuary Church, Rep Your Recovery, and just stepped into a role of where now we can't even imagine our community or our organization without Patrick in the middle of it.
My vision for this place would be that every room is full and everybody is on the same page as a group with checking on each other and figuring out what the next person needs in order to make it work for all of them. That's the vision, to where we have a place to where during our groups, if somebody's missing, somebody's like, hey, what's name's gone? Or hey, where's so-and-so at? Or whatever the case may be, to where it's like a unity type thing, not just I'm renting this room and I'm here because I have to be sober. I want them to feel a part of their home, whether it be a motel or whatever. These guys are living together. It's a community. And church, I want them to know that, all this wouldn't be possible without God. That's important. And all it wouldn't be possible without their willingness, without them deciding to do this, Just like me, I have to decide to do it every day. I have to decide to stay sober. I have to decide to follow the rules. I have to decide to be in society again and want to thrive in it, not just live in it.
I've learned a lot over the last 10 years, but one of the significant things is God's ability to have vision and his ability to provide is always bigger than what I expect. I just love now being a part of his kingdom mischief, and there's good things on the horizon, and we're seeing lives changed, and ultimately that's what matters. So now I'm excited. I'm excited to partner with God in the Redemption Project. I'm excited to see what individuals, churches, organizations come alongside us in the redemption of the margins here in Colorado Springs.